Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our latest program. It's really good to have you with us. I hope you all had a reasonably good Easter. I know it's not necessarily as enjoyable as it could have been, but I hope you managed to see your family and friends, even if you didn't manage to get together with them. It is a difficult time, but I think we all now realize that by cutting ourselves off from everybody at the moment is helping the national effort. Hopefully those numbers will continue to slide from now on in, and we can see an end to this. I think we're all going to be locked away for at least another 3 or 4 weeks. We're waiting to find out. And the main thing is that, you know, we give our heartfelt condolences to all those people who have unfortunately lost a friend or family or somebody they knew, and we hope that number just disappears back down to zero as quickly as possible. On that note, today is a little different of a format because I'm very pleased to have 2 of our members with us, and we're going to talk more about what's actually happening out there at Chalkface. We know that things are tight, things can be difficult. Many of you are reporting that you're busier than you've ever been because every client wants everything explained 10 times over, and then they come back just to check that they got it right. So what I want to do is really get from our members what it really feels like out there, and so that you can empathize with them and they with you, and we'll take it from there. So on the basis of ladies first, I'd like to introduce you to Lucy Brown. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Gary.
Lucy is a member of council. She is also the chair of the Lincolnshire branch, now a virtual branch and growing exponentially, I'm very pleased to say. So, Lucy, good of you to join us. Thank you for coming along. And you're still running your practice?
Yep.
Everything?
Yeah, everything seems to be going well practice-wise. I think not a huge amount has changed. I'm lucky enough to work from home most of the time anyway. There's one client I used to go to one day a week, but slightly anticipated lockdown, and managed to get all my logins and everything ready so that I could work from home for them. So there's not a huge amount of change other than having 2 small boys under my feet at home.
Yes. And are you happy for us to tell us what your hubby does?
Yeah, of course you can. My hubby,
your husband is a vicar?
He is a vicar, yeah. He is the rector of our town in Louth. He's also the rural dean of the area and works for the diocese. So a busy man. So
he's got well, I should imagine, a difficult time at the moment. Has he preached to an empty church yet? Is that part of what he's been doing?
They are advised not to be in the church. So for the first week of lockdown, before that changed, yes, he was in, well, virtually empty church. He had the rest of his team of clergy there with him, and no parishioners, which was a bit odd for him. But for the last 3 weeks, he's been doing it all from our dining room. He's got a little chapel there now, so it's a bit weird.
All right. Okay. Well, my other guest this morning is our Vice Chair of Council, actually, Stephen Worrall. Hi, Stephen, from up in the depths of Yorkshire. How are you doing?
Hi, Gary. Yes, very well, thank you. Absolutely beautiful day. I'm presuming it is across the country. It's absolutely glorious here. Temperatures have dipped a little bit, but blue skies. So, you know, might get a chance to go out when we're done and just catch some rays, all being well. So it's not true. It doesn't rain all the time in Yorkshire. Maybe Lancashire, but not so bad up here.
Oh, a bit of the old red rose, white rose coming out there. Yes, okay. Well, never mind. That's good enough. We are getting questions and answers coming through all the time. At the moment, they're not asking how you've coped and what you would suggest they should do. They're asking questions again against the dreaded furlough. Hands up anybody who'd heard of the word furlough before this all started, because I must admit I didn't. But anyway, so we will get to answer those. And while saying that, can I just mention that all those of you who have emailed in questions, they have been sent on to the appropriate person, either Jackie or Ian or Claire, who was in before. And those answers are now being put up as we find them onto the hub. So again, just to repeat, the hub, you can find that by going onto the ICB website, hitting the resources bar across the top, and then following COVID-19. And that will give you all of these. Now, look at the latest ones first, because they are being updated, but we are keeping a lot of the older questions archived so that they don't disappear completely. And so we're getting a lot of questions at the moment coming through on that, and therefore a lot of answers. And just to repeat something I said the other day, I did say to everybody, please ring us up and have a chat. If you're feeling lonely, you're feeling by yourself, you're feeling over-isolated, or in some cases under-isolated because you've got 4 kids, 3 dogs and a husband with you, which you're not used to. And we're still happy to do that. And we are getting a lot of calls that way. Bear with us if, 2 or 3 of you want to speak to somebody at the same time, but that all seems to be working well. We have been running a little bit behind with the emails. We have something like a 400% increase in the number of emails that we're receiving. Obviously, at these times, you fall back on your institute, and that's why we're there. We are endeavoring to put together a different system so that we can answer more of your emails. So those of you who are waiting for an answer, you should see that coming out soon. And I'm hoping that we manage to get to everybody, as many as we can anyway, by the end of this week. So Steve, we had a meeting earlier about council, talking about the next advisory council meeting. Are you going to tell us a little bit about what advisory council does, just so everybody knows?
Yeah, okay, yes. I've tried to get around as many people as possible at Summit in November, trying to sort of inform the role of the council. But for anyone out there who isn't aware, the council is made up of 14 members, quite a few of whom are also branch chairs. But the criteria really to be on the council is that you are a member of the ICB. So we try and draw the makeup of the council from as many sectors as we can and from as many regions as we can. We meet 4 times a year. The council is chaired by a lady called Paula Smith, which a lot of people in the institute will know. I help Paula along as vice, but Paula tends to sort of control the agendas along with liaising with the board at the ICB. The 4 times a year that we meet, we have an agenda to discuss topics and items that are likely to affect members and the institute, both items of legislation, best practice, and sort of general practice really for the ICB members might be interested in taking on. We then discuss those at the advisory council meetings, work our way through the agenda, and then we pass our opinions. I wouldn't say decisions, because the role of the council isn't necessarily to make the decisions. It is an advisory capacity, really. And those decisions are then passed up to the board with recommendations for the board then to make a decision on.
I don't think the board has disagreed with you on anything yet, has it, as council? I think it's been very keen to accept your guidance on the basis that you are out there at the chalk face, all of you. You're all working bookkeepers, you're all practicing bookkeepers. I don't know, Lucy, you've been on there for a while now, and you, I have to say, are one of our more pernickety members when it comes to getting your 3 pennies worth out of ICB. I think we generally, well, in fact, completely, I think, respond to what council feels is appropriate.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, and quite frankly, I don't agree to being on an advisory council or any other kind of council without putting in my opinion. That's why I'm there. But yeah, I think it's fascinating work to be able to offer our opinions, offer our help and advice on all those matters. But you're right. I don't think there's anything that we've really discussed in the 2 years I've been on the council that hasn't come to fruition or been discussed further.
I think that's important. I mean, I was pulling your leg a little bit there, but actually, of our council members, I think you stand out as the one that has really reached out to the membership through your branch, obviously, and beyond, and I know you've worked with some of the other branch chairs, you've done things, because the whole point for ICB of a council is that you do exactly that. You are the voice of the membership. And yes, we meet them at Inspirator, we meet them at seminars. I get to as many branches as possible, and we meet you there. But it's that constant link, the conduit to the branch, to the members, which is really important to the Institute, because, you know, we sit at our offices in London, we come up with some really bright ideas, we think, but they have to be pulled back a bit by reality, and we need to make sure that we never forget who is really in charge, and that is the membership. So no, I'm really pleased that you do that. And I think at the last council meeting, which I don't normally, I'm invited to attend council because I'm not a member of council, but I was invited to the last meeting, and you know, you had a long list of questions that had come from members, which we were able to answer for you, or I think most of them, and then you were able to take that back to your next meeting, and that's how this all works.
I think it's massively important to do that. The members, although they can always ring up ICB and talk to you guys, and it's a very approachable institute, we are there as branch chairs, as advisory council members, to be that voice for those people that don't want to necessarily put themselves forward for giving their opinions, and don't want to be that person. I am there to do that, and I really would advise any members that want to get more involved or offer their opinions to come and talk to us. We are at Inspire Things, we're at the summit, we're available on our Facebook groups, and we want to help.
And the Facebook groups have actually been fantastic. I mean, each branch has its own Facebook group. But in addition to that, we've got a Facebook members group, which is national, and a Facebook student group. And the numbers on that are growing. And in fact, a large proportion of the people who are listening in today are doing through that Facebook group. So it's good to have that along as well. There are a lot of organizations that run comment sections on their website and various other things, and they're not monitored in the way that ours are. You know, they're not people who are necessarily qualified, etc., and they can give some really strange bits of information. And we always say, look, you need to make sure that if you're listening to something, that the information is coming from somebody who really does know what they're doing. And there are a lot of people in this profession, I suppose, as in all professions, who think they know the answer, but we're constantly picking them up on some of these other forums and saying, whoa, hold on a minute, it doesn't work like that. And so one of the things that we try to do is, it sounds bad, but we try to vet who goes on today. We try to make sure that they are only members of good standing, that they are qualified to answer questions, and I think that's important. And that's why I think we separate students from members. Students, a lot of them are very willing, but sometimes they're part qualified and they jump straight into year-end accounts thinking that they know what they're talking about, and that isn't always the case. So that's, you know, it is good to have that there. And incidentally, any of you that are listening, we do have some vacancies on council at the moment because of for various reasons, including one retirement and unfortunately one illness. We actually have vacancies along the west coast of the country. East coast, we've got plenty of them over there. But if anybody from the sort of Cheshire, Lancashire, Cumbria area is interested in putting their name forward for council, please get in touch. Get in touch with the office via customer services email, because we do need somebody there. And it would be good to make sure, because what we've tried to do is make sure that every single area of the country is covered, so that we don't become southeast centric, which can be so easy when we've got such a large membership base in the southeast. But the southeast is only as important as every other area of the country, and so we push very hard through positive discrimination to try and get some of you on there as well.
Can I just, Gary? I think also at this point, I think it's important to stress the importance of the branch network, because a lot of the feedback that I get is through our local branch network and the members that attend the branch meetings. And since the lockdown has occurred, since we've got into the situation that is occurring at the moment, quite a few of the branch networks and branch meetings have seen increases in attendances by going onto the digital meetings. Now, with what's going on here, and obviously the number of people that are actually sort of tuning in and watching the webcast, there's I'm sort of saying to the people out there, please check out the local branch, your local branch, and see. And if you do have anything as well, as good as Facebook and the alternative ways of getting your views and your opinions and questions, the branch meeting is probably one of the best sources that we can get the feedback through the branch chairs into the advisory council members. And as I say, quite a few of the branch chairs also have a representation on the council. And it is a quicker and a more direct way of getting views, opinions, and ideas through to the advisory council that then can be discussed and put through to the board. And I say, I think if the uptake of members attending branch meetings through the digital network that's now been established and used through Zoom means that we get more representation, then that's also the good for the institute. So I'm sort of saying to people out there who are watching this, then please do check out your local branch. If you're interested in getting involved with the institute, have a look at the local branch. That really is the route for the feedback that we need to see on the council, for definite.
I think the other thing we need to mention is that you will not be press ganged into anything, but attending a branch meeting is useful anyway, because whereas this is a national program, branch meetings are very much local. They tend to be sort of county based. That's how we publicise them, although some people do stray over the border occasionally, but they tend to be county based. So you're talking to people who are working in your area, who've got the same challenges that you have, who've got the same types of client base. So, if you're in a particularly rural area, then your members, the rest of your fellow members, are likely to also be from a rural area. So you will get a feel for rural clients. And that makes a huge difference to if you're in, say, South London or West London or East London. And the way you attract clients, the type of clients you get will be wholly different. So it's good to be able to have the national understanding of what's going on, to make you feel part of a national, well, not actually only a national, an international, a global organisation, but the important local considerations then are there for you, and that's good. And you get to see people who are actually working perhaps half a mile from you, and they're building up a business, you're building up a business. And often in the past, members have got together and formed partnerships and are working well together in groups. Others have found their first job with a member that's already on the branch meetings. So a lot goes on. And if nothing else, it's an extremely social network. People like to get together. So I think when the lockdown finishes, I'm sure we will continue with the webinar approach. But I think also people will be so fed up with staying in by then that they'll want to go out and meet other people and talk to other people. So I still think the branches, the physical branch meetings on a cold, wet Tuesday night or whenever, are still going to be of great appeal.
It's worth saying, Gary, that there are areas that don't have branch meetings. Some counties don't have them, and if people want to volunteer to do them, then another branch member will definitely help you set up and give advice. We're all friendly, but also that I was having a discussion with someone that came to our last virtual branch meeting. They don't have one near them, and we're worried they didn't have the experience, enough business experience, to set up as a branch chair. But actually the branch chair is just someone that facilitates the meeting. They don't have to have all the answers. They haven't had all the experiences. It is purely to facilitate a meeting of like-minded people. And so please don't be afraid to sign up to do it. You're not committing yourself forever. But if no one comes forward, you don't get one in your area. And going back to what you said as well, Gary, that in our branch, we have people that do job share. They give each other work. Some people aren't qualified in certain areas, so they find another branch member who is. We have a good cope system for if anyone's ill. We know what the other members can do, and therefore any work can be shared out should it need to be. But it's a social thing. It provides comfort and support, and laughs, actually. We've got a good WhatsApp group going on at the moment in Lincolnshire, and it is just brilliant. It's provided so much relief and support and just friendship over the last couple of weeks, which I wouldn't otherwise have. It's been invaluable.
As they say, a problem shared is a problem doubled. But anyway, the thing is, I think that, this aspect of it, I think is one of the big things that you have from a professional body that perhaps you don't get from your software company that is very keen to, get you to join in all sorts of things, but the camaraderie isn't there, and that that you're mixing with other like-minded professionals, not just people that know how to press buttons, etc., and that's what we're about. You're not just a bookkeeper, you're an ICB bookkeeper, which is a phrase, but actually if you think about what it means, I mean, we do go to great lengths to make sure we get the creme de la creme, so that's good. And the COPE you mentioned, which is the continuation of practice engagement, is where we try and get our members to link in with other members so that if anything unfortunate happens, they have somebody that can step in perhaps and help them. And it has been put together so that people have somebody to fall back on if they are unfortunately taken ill, or they just grow so much they don't want to take on extra clients, so they've got somebody that they know and trust that they can hand clients over to. We never, even in our wildest dreams, thought it would be for something like COVID. But I know that a lot of people, having made those contacts, are calling upon those friendships and those relationships now, when some people have now to look after 2 small children, but they've been able to call in their COPE buddies, or whatever you want to call them, to help and assist, because life is going to go on at some stage after this 3 months or 4 months or whatever it becomes. Businesses are still going to want bookkeepers. You're going to still want to earn money and keep your business running. So anything that you can do in the interim is obviously greatly appreciated. Now, we are getting a few questions on here. They are, surprisingly enough, about furloughing. I don't know if you can see that one here about the minimum wage from Joyce. Do the minimum wage increased after the furlough deadline of 28th of February? Are they right to pay the national minimum wage now, not just the old minimum wage? My understanding is that the minimum wage is the one thing which can be varied afterwards, and that now they should be paying the minimum wage. But while we're on, I will get that checked out. And I've got somebody here, Julia Williams, saying, welcome to another week. Thank you very much. Lovely to have you. Is there anything I can get directors to sign to say that they're eligible to be furloughed? Well, once you've made the decision that they are correct in their assumption, Julia, I think that you could put together a note explaining why you think they could be furloughed, and they could then write back to you and saying, yes, I agree with you. This is how it works. I don't have a template at the moment. We have put the template on for furloughed workers. Not sure we thought about this one before, but I'll have a word with the team and see if we can get something up. But I hope that I hope that works for you. I have asked this before, but has anyone any idea how to handle weekly pay that is over 2,500 per month, when April is the 4-week month and May a 5-week?
Well, I could answer that, Gary, because it's...
Thanks, Steve.
The £2,500 setting is actually based on a limit of £30,000 a year. So you just have to divide the £30,000 by 52 to arrive at what the maximum weekly that the revenue would be prepared to cap on that. So if you've got a 4-week period in April, if people are paid on a weekly basis, then basically you take 4 52s of £30,000 to arrive at the maximum, the cap for the furloughed amount, obviously plus the additional amounts. I've had that from a client, so it is a case of it's 2,500 cap per month, but of course that is over a period of a year, £30,000 a year.
So if you multiply 2,500 by 12 and then divide by 52, that gives you the weekly amount.
Yeah, multiply by 12, divide by 52 gives you the weekly amount, which is the revenue, the capping that the revenue have given on basically the 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I've always been paid on a monthly basis, so whether it's 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, I get the same money in the days when I was earning. But anyway. when I was a young lad. But there we are, that goes. So I hope that's helped Valerie Haig for that one. If you've got any queries, send us in another inquiry, and I will get that put up on the hub. It will be on the hub probably today's, where are we? We're Tuesday today, getting mixed up with this week being Easter. So this should be on the hub by at the latest Thursday. I have a client with an employee who was on unpaid leave for 3 weeks, didn't want to work even though socially distanced work was available. He's now saying that despite socially distancing, he has coronavirus symptoms. Can he be put on SSP for the next 2 weeks? Yes, I believe so. Also, re-SSP, the government UK site, re-COVID-19 SSP, says that it is $94.25 per week. This page was updated on the 7th of the 4th, 20. However, the non-COVID-19 page says that SSP is now $95.85 per week, which presumably increased in the new tax year. Just something to watch out for, as I have not seen any mention of the increase on any of the COVID-19 pages. It might be worth getting that checked out, Susanna, who sent this in, because actually one of the big problems that HMRC has is that it is having to update thousands and thousands of pages, and it is taking them a bit of time. Lucy, have you got any idea on that? What would you suggest? You go by the higher rate or the lower rate? I mean, it's £1.60. It might be worth a lot.
Gary, again, I can reply to that.
Oh, he's a real clever one, isn't he, this Steve? Steve, carry on.
It's only because I've had the same query in. Yes, from the 6th of April. So as of the 6th of April, the rate went up to $95.85 a week. That's just the new rate of SSP that has come into effect from that date. Right.
So the fact that it doesn't say it on one page, but it does on the other, we ignore that for the moment. They've just not had time to update it. So
well, yeah, it was $94.25 to the 5th of April, and then it's gone up to $95.85 from the 6th.
And I think it's worth emphasising again that HMRC have said that provided people aren't trying to fiddle the system, if it's put forward by a bookkeeper, let's say, and somebody has taken that advice, that's not the sort of clawback or problem that they're going to raise afterwards. It's more the people that have been paid that shouldn't have been paid, etc., etc. And I think if it was a genuine error, it will be looked on as such, and either for £1.25, £1 whatever it is a week, it will be allowed to go through, or if it's a small figure like that, they will certainly not tart once you're tarred and feathered. But thank you anyway, Susanna, for mentioning that, because that's enabled us to bring it up, and that's looking good. Is there going to be a change in furlough so that employees can work part-time and have furlough for the rest of the week? That's from Anonymous. Not that I'm aware of. I think the system is complicated enough at the moment. They're concentrating on getting as much out to people as they can. Oh, here we are. Here's one for Lucy. As a new branch chair, what is the best way to access information coming out of the advisory council, please? Now that's Amit. Hello, Amit. Amit Seder, who has recently taken over in London from our long-standing chair there, Dinah. And well done, Amit. You're doing a fantastic job. So, Lucy, what would you suggest?
I guess we don't do enough to actually to disseminate these things. It's all very well at coming up to us for us to feed up to board, but maybe not the other way around. As branch chairs, we meet annually, but that's not frequent enough to feed back. So Amit, maybe at our next advisory council meeting, we should discuss how we actually formally do that. Of
course, most of the stuff that goes to council comes back to the institute, who then push it out. We take all the praise and say that it's our doing. So you're going to see it one way or another. Actually, Amit, I need to chat to you later anyway, so we can have a chat about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to put on the next council meeting, which is next week, and we're having that as a virtual meeting for the first time ever, which should be fun. Peter Richardson says hello. Hello, Peter. Can an employer claim, this is Kevin Watson, can an employer claim for an employer's national insurance on the furlough scheme if they're receiving the employer's national insurance allowance? Stunned silence. I mean, any ideas either of you? No? I'll tell you what, we'll forward that one to the intrepid Jackie Mount, who is no doubt listening in anyway.
I think that question was asked last week on one of these webinars, and has been answered, but I still not entirely certain of the answer.
We're waiting to see what has to be completed on the portal. Hopefully the portal will be available on next Monday, the 20th.
Yeah, it's 20th. That's the big day, I think.
And again, unofficially, there will be a box there to fill in that states if you've claimed employment allowance, then that will reduce the recoverability of the employer's NI. But that is not, that we're still waiting to hear whether that is the case. But they're saying that no, the answer to the question is probably no at this stage, because you're supposed to be recovering the costs that have been incurred by the employer for furloughing an employee. If you are then making a profit, if you're making a profit out of it by claiming employment allowance and then recovering the employer's NI, then that is not the intention here. So again, until the portal is available and we all start completing, or the clients start completing, the relevant boxes to make the claims to recover the 80% or whatever, no one is absolutely sure. But it's likely that the answer to that question will be no, because no one's supposed to profit out of the scheme, just recover costs.
Great, thank you for that. Peter Richardson has come back in and said that he's been told by Peninsula HR Services, which is one of the biggest sort of service companies, that the new minimum wage should be applied to each worker. As furloughed employees are not current workers, the furloughed wage is based upon the last paid wages, hours worked by rate at that time. Okay.
Well, again, that depends on how long the worker has worked for the employer. So the basis for doing that calculation is, the rate of pay that the employee was on, as at the 28th of February, or the equivalent week or month the following year, if the employee has been with you for over 12 months. So that is dependent, is that calculation.
Okay, and do employers still have to pay PAYE to the 5th of April to the 5th of April by the 19th of April 2020, and also all pensions due to Nest?
Well, with regard to the PAYE, the answer is yes, unless you are able to negotiate with the revenue a time to pay, and there's a phone number that's available there. If you can't afford to meet the PAYE requirements, then you can call a number and arrange to make a payment over a period of time. But otherwise, the answer to that question is yes, it's still due on the 19th or the 22nd.
Yeah, I think HMRC said to us right at the very beginning that there is an automatic 2-month waive available. After that 2 months, if you want any more time, there is another month which is purely discretionary, but 3 months is it, basically. You can't let it lapse beyond that. I suppose their main concern is that you keep putting off and eventually you're not going to be in a position to pay it anyway. So they will want certain safeguards. And certainly the people that we've spoken to at HMRC said they're getting a lot of our bookkeepers sending information through, which is proving valuable, and they're very accurate. And that's it, really. As a bookkeeper working for clients, that's what we do. We make sure that everything that we do looks sensible and to the point. Before we get into any more of this, then, one of the reasons for bringing you two lovely people on today was to talk about how you're coping with clients that on one hand are perhaps winding down their business while they're being furloughed or literally shut down or whatever. And on the other hand, you've got clients that are suddenly on the phone every 5 minutes because they're having to cope with extra requirements, extra form filling, and lots and lots of employees who are worried, concerned, and you as their ICB bookkeeper are their main source of information. How are you coping with all of this? Lucy, how are you finding it?
I have been extremely lucky that my clients don't seem to be panicking. I've had a couple, in the first week I had one in tears ring me and say, I can't pay your bill, which I kind of, I'd anticipated anyway. I knew that times would be really tough for them. So we've come to some kind of agreement on that. But other than that, I mean, I sent out straight away communications to all my clients saying, this is how things stand at the moment. This is what we hope you're entitled to. There will be more information as it comes. I rang round them all, so took a proactive approach to it and got in touch with them. And I haven't actually had any panickers on the phone yet. I've not had to fill in any extra forms yet. I've given them all the links to do it for the local councils and things like that. So really, I think I stemmed it by being proactive. So it's been okay for me, and I think I'm lucky in that respect.
Yes, Steve, I think the preemptive contact is it really, isn't it? It's all about holding their hand before they even think about it. Get in there now and just communicate. It was,
yeah, I must admit, following the budget, which is often the case, things tend to go a bit mad. But when Rishi Sunak then decided to announce all the various schemes last Monday, then that really, everything went absolutely bananas in our office, and it just really did go crazy, big time. Phone call after phone call, email after email, within hours of actually the announcement being made, being requests on how the scheme works, how they get the money, when they get the money, and a lot of the time was spent just sort of telling clients, where the various processes, whether it was email, over the phone, just to sort of calm down a little bit, that we would be gauging the situation, monitoring the situation, and releasing the information as and when it became available. That helps because the clients were grateful for the fact that you were keeping them informed. And over the course of the last sort of 14 to 16 days, regular contacts, either in the form of emails that are targeted to the sole traders for the aspects that are applicable to them, or directors or furloughed workers with payroll. I mean, it offered us a way of really assessing the client base and dividing them and categorising them, so that as the information is released, you had a target set of clients for which that information would be relevant. So your self-employed clients want to know about, the self-employment schemes that are out there, clients with employees, with payrolls, they obviously are absolutely inundated with information, but want it sort of translating to them in a more friendly format, so that they can understand the furlough scheme and the statutory sick pay scheme, and all the various things that are tailored to them. So it proved a very useful exercise, for me and my staff of one, but in order to sort of get to grips with with what's going on within the practice and targeting. The feedback then comes from the clients, in that you do get regular emails coming from them, saying thank you for keeping me updated. I'll wait to hear what the next situation is, and they would calm down. And like Lucy was saying, yeah, I've had a few that have panicked. I've lost a few, Gary. I've got to say, I've a few clients. This was the straw. But going on to what you're saying, I've also had about 2 or 3 inquiries recently from people, who have come along and said, look, my friend has told me that you've helped them out. Would you mind, just letting us know what the situation is? I've got, I'm a dentist. I mean, I've never had a dentist client in my life. I've now had an inquiry from a dentist who's furloughed. The furlough scheme for a dentist is quite complicated, I'll be honest. And I still haven't got the answer yet, with a mix of NHS income and private income. And that's something.
So you're filling in for him.
So, yeah. so yeah, there are. I mean, you were saying there are positives that have come out of this, but on the whole, I think keeping the clients informed, and keeping them abreast of situations that are relevant to their specific circumstances, means that the clients on the whole are a lot happier than they would have been otherwise. And I would advise, I'd say, as long as you're in touch with them by any means, whether it's email, phone, or text message or whatever, the clients at least know that there is that hand-holding going on and that you've got their interests at heart, and you will sort of keep them in the loop.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that what's coming out of this is that the basic bookkeeper element of regular contact is more important now than ever. And I think there are some of the larger firms of, mainly accountants, but I'm not just digging at accountants, but who are used to an annual checkup and audit. That's really those are the people that I find are struggling most. And, that isn't any use to anybody anymore. In these times, it is this, I need somebody that I can talk to, that understands me, that talks my language. And I'm getting that a lot. I mean, Lucy, I presume you're as straight talking with your clients as you are with your council members. So is that right? I mean, you're finding that it's communication that is key?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm always quite straightforward talking. I was actually amazed. I listed out my clients that first week and worked out which order I'd bring them in. And the first one I rang was a beautician who I realised would have closed her salon for the moment. I rang her up and I said, how are you doing? And the response I got wasn't anything about work. It was, I don't know what I should be teaching my child.
Right.
And so I managed to, we have kids at both primary schools, so I managed to say, actually look at my school website and there's nice stuff you can print off for your son. And I think that actually calmed her down to be able to then talk about the business and what we needed to do over the next few months. And then at the other end of my list were some of my limited companies, which I've got a few that have their own accountant, and I left them till last because I thought, the accountant will be calling them. Rang them up, and they'd had absolutely no communication from the accountant. So it's been a real education for me as to how often I do need to talk to my clients, and how they're communicating with their other bits of support. And actually, I've got a lot of clients who I do only deal with once a year. They're the sole traders that just need a self-assessment done. But actually, maybe I do need to plug into them a few more times in the year to have that better relationship with them, so that when things like this happen, when they're making big decisions, I'm someone they think of calling. Because I don't think always I've been at the front of their minds for when they're making business decisions. And that's something I can help with. And so it's been really educational, and I think really great for our businesses going forwards. We can see what kind of client base we have. The other thing I've learned is I'm really lucky that I've got quite a diverse client range, from beauticians to, I have a patisserie, I have agricultural people. And so actually that diversity has helped my business. And I've seen some of my branch members and things where maybe they've got a smaller base of clients, and actually they're all in the same kind of sector, and so they're really hit by it. So it's an interesting exercise to review our own businesses in, and going forward, I think it can be really useful for us to improve our businesses, improve our practices. And
I think you raised a couple of important points there. And if we don't shoebox ourselves, quite often the client does. They think that you are there to do the books, and they don't think that they need something else. They don't necessarily know that it's you that they could talk to. So we've constantly got to be talking to our clients and saying, well, I'm doing this for you. When you're ready, I can do this, this, and this for you as well. And I think I've heard over the years from bookkeepers who've said, I've been doing this, and they've gone outside to get their payroll done when I could do payroll. I said, well, did they not like the way you do payroll? And they said, well, I don't think they knew I did payroll. In which case, that's it, really. You've got to tell these people. And I think the thing is, I come not from an admin background, I come from a sales background. So what to me seems obvious, sometimes I forget to talk to bookkeepers about when they do, because I'm thinking, well, you must have thought of that, surely. And very early on one of the, I think it was the first of these programs that I did, I said to everybody, just get on the phone, talk to your clients, contact them, communicate with them. And I've had a couple of people coming back and said, oh, it's great. I was really worried about doing it, but now I've done it. It's fantastic. I'm talking to my clients. I'm working with them. And I wish I'd have known about this earlier. But unfortunately, I'm used to doing that, so I don't sometimes share that. So I've tried to do that a bit more recently because yeah, your clients are as isolated as you are now, often, even in their own profession. They are busy fighting with their competitors, they're fighting with their suppliers and various other things. You all know from running a small business, it's not quite as simple as it looks. And if they know that your shoulders are a bit broader, they'll lean on you a little bit more. And I mean that as nicely as possible. And yeah, there are other things that bookkeepers can do. And I think this is why our qualifications over the years and our membership structure has changed a bit, because the old days of bookkeepers adding up a set of figures and looking after a bag of receipts, we still do that, but that's not where we stop anymore. We add value to everything we do by saying, yes, I can actually get you to the year-end accounts. I can submit your returns for you. I can do all sorts of things for you. I think some bookkeepers perhaps be nervous about it, I suppose. They keep their head down a little bit and think, oh, well, as long as I'm getting the number stuff, I won't tread on anybody's toes and I'll stay where I am. And generally, I think the clients don't want that. The biggest problem is that our clients normally want more than we can offer them. And we've had odd occasions where our members have gone a little bit over the top, as I've said over a number of these programs, but I think that's great. I'm feeling very jealous here. Philippa, to all panelists, enjoying homemade blueberry, almond and lemon cake with my coffee. Well, good for you. That sounds wonderful. Are self-employed people eligible for the 3-month 80% grant regardless of whether or not their business has been affected? That's from Karen Clark. As I understand it, you can continue in business if you're self-employed and still claim the 80%.
You've got to have had an impact from COVID. It's got to show that your business income has gone down. I don't know yet how much by how they're going to judge that, but that one of the requirements is that your income has gone down and that you are still in business and would still be in business if it wasn't for COVID, and that you plan to trade in the next year.
Yeah, I think with all these measures that are coming through, it's not to give you a Christmas present, it's to keep you going in a really bad time. So you need to bear that in mind. And I know there are lots of groups that are saying they've fallen through the cracks. There are so many cracks, really, that government is, I think, we have to give them a lot of credit for what's been going on at the moment. They're doing their best with a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air. And, they are picking up certain bits and changing and doing a bit of tweaking. So I hope that will continue. I mean, hopefully in June or something like that, we'll start to see the back of this and we can start to get out there and build businesses back up again.
Again, let's say the answer, but because the self-employed, the scheme for self-employed is actually being administered by HMRC, and obviously the money is not going to be available until June anyway. Once again, HMRC will be contacting the clients, with their taxpayer, the self-employed taxpayers themselves, in order to complete the application forms. And again, I'm sure on there will be something to complete, which, as Lucy has just said, will give the reason why you feel that your income has dropped as a consequence, so that there is some form of assessment that will be carried out in terms of the consequences of COVID-19 on you as a self-employed person. But again, we're having to say to clients on this, yes, we've got your last 3 years tax return, so I know what your profits have been, but that is not a guarantee that you will receive up to the maximum of £2,500 or 80% of your income for the next 3 months, because we've got to see what the criteria is that HMRC will release for, in another week, 2, 3, 4 weeks time, when we'll all be doing it. So we're in the process there with clients saying we can prepare all the start process for this for you and let you know what the information is that HMRC will request. But when it comes to carrying out the assessment of what you will receive, that is not yet known, to the full. We've only got the bases on which HMRC will carry out the assessment. And again, I think we're back to sort of that, keeping the clients informed and telling them that there isn't yet a definite answer for some of the questions that are being thrown around. Yes, each week more and more is released, more guidance notes are published, which means that we can fill in some of the gaps. But some of the things that aren't going to come in for another few weeks, we are still, wanting to, to fill in the gaps before we can give, 100% of more concise answers and let clients know what the situation is. But going back to what I was saying earlier,
yeah.
I mean, again, there are certainly opportunities out there, and you were saying about bookkeepers quite often bury their heads and just carry on with the job that they do for the clients. If that is the case, and bookkeepers are carrying out those little bits, there is that sort of element of a carrot and a stick here, where you can say to the client, well, we've got a situation where we're carrying out a bit of bookkeeping or a bit of payroll, but if you want a bit of help on the VAT or on it, then that's something that's within our remit. And then, like you say, the clients will warm to that, or we found that the clients say, oh, so you can do a bit more, because I'm paying an accountant to do that at the moment, who's charging me a fortune. And you are, if you've got the qualifications, as we said, and it's within your license to do it, then do it. The clients will love it, and if they get the job done to the for a cheap amount, then they'll love it without a doubt.
I mean, I mentioned before that sometimes our clients get asked to do even more, whatever our members, do even more, whatever our members qualify to do. There's always somebody who then wants them to go that stage further, and there are certain things they have to stop at. We can do taxation now and various things, but we're not fully fledged tax advisors. You can't start talking about schemes and various other things, but it's when businesses are running a system and they want to submit the accounts at the end of the year, and quite often for an accountant to quickly look at that, it will be more than you've charged for an entire year's work. So what we're trying to do is stop that happening. And government has been very keen for us to do this. And I've got a call here. I've got one here from Joanne Turner, who's come through on the chat line from Facebook, saying, "Hi, can you please help me with a query? I qualified under FRS 105 when the qualification first came out. For those of you who don't know, that's Financial Reporting Standard 105, and that's when you're coming to the year end. You're doing the final accounts for the business for a micro business. So that's up to around 700,000-800,000 turnover." Keep an eye on that. It changes a little bit, but that sort of business. And I've now heard that we can do the FRS 1. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here because I'm getting mixed up. FRS 102, which I have not qualified to do. Can I now offer this? I understand I'm going to be exempted from 102. Well, Joanne, two things on this. 102 is for small businesses, as you know. Now, that small business is everything above micro business up to 12, 13 million pound turnover. Now, the majority of clients that our members currently have fall either into micro or into small, but at the bottom end. So the majority have got a turnover probably no bigger than about 5 million or something like that. But those businesses can be very complicated, or they can be very simple. The size of the turnover has no bearing on the complexity of the company. What we are going to be doing is saying, yes, if you've got 105, you know the principles of what's required. And 102 will eventually be examined as part of a joint qualification. As you have 102, if you're being asked for 105, you need to make sure that you understand the differences. We are going to be talking about sort of an exemption route for this, but I think that you would be wise to look at what's required in 102. But on the basis that you're one of our members, that you have agreed only to do stuff which you feel comfortable doing, competent to do, that's where the exemption comes in. So yes, I would say that you could take on that client, but you do need, before you come to their first set of accounts where you're going to be using 102, you get your CPD in there, which extends your knowledge. And there will be no formal requirement for you to jump through another hoop at this stage, but anybody moving forward will just automatically do 105 and 102 together in their qualification. So good luck with the new client. But just to reiterate what I've said earlier in the week, please don't carry out an audit. You can't do that unless you're a registered auditor. And as I mentioned, one of our members did submit an audit recently, and when asked why, he said, because my clients asked me to. You've got to remember, you are in charge. It doesn't always feel like that with clients, as no doubt my two colleagues here today will tell you. But anyway, so from Facebook, there is nothing.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Can I add something, Gary? Gary, you did touch on something there, which I'd like to flag, if that's okay, and that is CPD. And I'm sure a lot of the members out there in practice know that we have our new CPD recommendation or required number. The webinars, these webinar TV webinars that are going on, there's a lot of information that's actually coming out here, with the questions and the answers, and when we've had the various guests on with Jackie and Claire and the various people that have been on these. I actually, and again, we haven't had this advisory council, and it might be that it gets brought up at the next meeting, but I would say that a lot of this would qualify as unstructured CPD. If a lot of the members are watching the TV broadcast and will actually recognise that by logging it on their CPD records, then there is a great way of obtaining the unstructured CPD requirements. For this year. I mean, again, I'm putting that out there at this stage, but I would certainly hope that would be the case. There's a lot
absolutely, honestly, yeah. I mean, there is so much CPD flying around at the moment out of pure necessity that we have to do that. Now, obviously, we can't guarantee that you've been listening or that you have understood what's being said. But when we get to the Inspire Tour, which is at the end of this month, one of the things that we will be doing is after each session, there will be an online test available, and that will give you a chance to prove that you know what you're doing, in which case that becomes structured, because we'll be able to give you a mark. And it's a good test for you to see whether or not you've done it. So that's where this is different. This is an open chat, and people can log on, log off, fall asleep, go off for a cup of coffee, go to the loo or something or other. And there could be big chunks of something that you've missed. But just to tell you, Joanne, who I was just talking about with this question over FRS 105. Thanks for this. I really appreciate the help. The client is going up from £50 per month to over £1,000 a month because of this additional service. So well done you, Joanne. Good luck with that. And I hope the check's in the post. Anyway, more of that. So I think if I seem to be scrolling up and down here, for those of you who are watching, all I'm doing, I'm running through the various questions that are coming in at the moment. So please excuse me occasionally for using the wrong hand and going across the camera. Lucy, most of you are probably a sort of an atypical member for us. You are, married, children, and you're running a business, you're running a family. I dread to say running a husband as well, but this probably are. How are you coping at the moment? Because everything is all coming into one bag at once, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm doing okay, I think. My children are a little bit feral, but they're happy. I'm really lucky that I have, while my children are little, my eldest is 10, the other's 7, 2 boys. I very purposefully keep my business relatively small so that in the school holidays while they're little, I don't have to get childcare. So really, I've just gone into ultra long summer holiday mode. I manage my work by really working out what's essential for the clients. They don't want to really be paying for any extras at the moment anyway. And I do the time critical stuff and maybe a little extra if they want it. It will be a financial burden for me and my husband and family while this goes on, but really we will find a way to cope. I was reading on the comments there, someone saying that they're one of the small directors and fall through I get up, I make a list of what I need to do. I'll often do an hour and a half before the children require my attention in the morning, and then we break it up with going on the trampoline, going out for a walk, and just break the work down into chunks, doable chunks, so that the children can entertain themselves. I get a bit of work done. I'm getting enough done. My income, as I said, will go down, but it will survive. That's the plan anyway. And the husband pretty much looks after himself.
That's good. I've got one here from Deborah Hinson. I have a client who's a sole trader, but his main income is from his pension, i.e. pension is more than the profits from self-employment. Does this mean he won't qualify for financial help? He won't get the benefit, the self-employment funding, no. I'm afraid he'll have to rely on his pension. As I say, this is one of these cracks, I'm afraid, that people have fallen through. It is trying to protect those people who are mainly or solely reliant upon their self-employed income. A recent furlough claim guideline said we need to know the furlough period, but we cannot know that at the minute. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, TC Jam, I think it says here. I think they're talking about the 3-month minimum, the 3-week minimum period. I'm not sure. I don't think they mean that we can in any way guesstimate when this will all finish. But if you could give us a bit more detail, perhaps I've missed something there. We can't feed back the information discussed. This is Paula V.C. Smith keeps popping up, doesn't she? We can't feed back the information discussed as it's confidential, but would directly respond to any question that was raised from a branch chair. Okay, I can see what Paula's saying. Paula's obviously the chair of council. If we're discussing something in there which hasn't been released or hasn't been agreed or has got to go through legislation or has got to go through a rule change, for example, obviously we can't release that. But a lot of the information that we discuss can come back through branch chairs, but will normally be released in the newsletter or in something like that anyway. Yeah, I think we're generally open unless, as I say, there is some sort of legal or other reason, or I don't know, the ICB executive want to release it as their idea. I have no idea, but normally speaking, we're not some clandestine organisation that locks itself away and discusses anything which doesn't actually come into the public domain in due course. So I hope everybody's happy with that. If not, you know, join council and you'll get to hear what we're talking about. If an employee had a pay rise in March, monthly pay, is the furlough rate the February 20th salary? Yes. 28th. But yes. You know, all that stuff. Do you activate employers' national insurance allowance for a client at the start of the new tax year, even though all of their staff are furloughed? This way, they will be using their allowance against furloughed staff when they're not trading, and might be better to use it when they're trading properly again. Would this be allowed? Stephen, you're the tax man.
Well, again, if the employment allowance is available from the 6th of April or from the 1st of April for monthly staff, so for month 1 onwards. So again, and again, wait until there are more details released when the portal is opened, but if you are applying the employment allowance, then you're not allowed to profit from the furlough scheme. So if you start using your employment allowance in month 1, month 2, month 3, then that will be utilised. Then you can't profit out of the furlough scheme. The furlough scheme there is to reimburse, not profit.
So that was Rich who was asking that, and again, just to reiterate, nobody is supposed to make an normally unacceptable gain from this. They've got to follow the rules precisely, and government have been very straightforward. There will be a huge audit process at the end of this. Now we've had it, we understand that they'll start with the people who've had no external advice first, because they're more likely to have made errors, and they'll work their way along the chain. So, the thing is to advise if this is for yourself, or advise your clients that you are keeping them within the rules, and you cannot get involved with, I won't call them a twisting of the rules to make a short-term gain. It's just not worth your time, and you don't want to lose your reputation when the audit later points out that you got it all wrong. Good afternoon. Is there any mention, says the Anonymous again, about delaying the payment of VAT on imported goods? I will check on that. I have a feeling that Jackie Mount mentioned something about this last week, and I'll try and find that out, and we'll come back to you. It's certainly something that we'll put this on the hub. As far as I'm aware, the only VAT that has been stopped on imported goods is anything from Europe, which is regarded as a necessity, you know, masks and gowns and anything else like that. Jessica Harrison says a client's employee permanently reduced their hours from 37.5 to 22.5 in March. So if I was to base the furlough pay on the 28th of February, this would actually be a lot higher than they are now contracted to. Do you think it's acceptable to lose the new wage? Well, 28th of February is the date, isn't it?
Depends when the contract was signed, because the contract of employment has overriding on you know, in terms of the basis for furloughing. But then again, you've got to get your employees' consent anyway if you do decide to furlough them. So it's a matter really, is that for contract law, for employment law.
Yeah.
There's a new contract that was issued in March that was signed by both sides. Then a new contract needs to be written if you decide to furlough your employee on a different basis from that contract. Yeah, tricky, that one.
I don't know who this one's from, actually. Nobody's put anything on here. I need to pay some apprentices for training whilst they've been furloughed. You can train during being furloughed. The only thing you can't do is anything which creates revenue for the organisation, because then you can't be furloughed. So the apprentices, I mean, there is a big push by government to use this time to train. And in fact, you know, we've got students coming out of the woodwork we haven't seen for 10 years who suddenly want to jump back onto the treadmill, as it were, and do some more.
Gary, there's a second part to that query.
Oh.
If this one's one from Julia Williams, saying, I have to tell the training provider what their hourly rate is, and they will let me know how many hours training they have had. They will need to be paid the correct national minimum wage for the hours trained, but do they have to receive the increase for the rest of the hours paid, but they have not actually worked?
Yeah, can I just say, I've got to say, time spent training is treated as working time for the purposes of minimum wage calculations and must be paid at the appropriate minimum wage rate. So if you've got staff that are training, then you do need to apply the appropriate minimum wage rate to that time they are spent actually training when you carry out the calculation.
But the rest of the hours are at the original rate, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah.
Right, well done. Great, thank you both for that. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I'm with you now. Should be unstructured. Yeah, well done. Oh, I got something that I'm afraid somebody is flicking these down here from HMRC. Now, is this properly from HMRC? No, this is somebody writing this. We want to help you get ready to make a claim under the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme. If you're eligible for the scheme, there are things that you can do now to be ready for when the system is up and running later this month. You'll need to provide the following to make a claim: the bank account number and sort code you'd like to use when we pay your claim, and that must be a UK branch. The name and phone number of the person in your business for us to call with questions. That would normally be you if you're the agent. Your self-assessment, UTR, you need tax reference, company UTR or CRN, company registration number. The name, employee number and national insurance number for each of your furloughed employees. And, oh, it's gone again. Keeps moving around here. The total amount being claimed for all employees and the total furlough period. I think that's all pretty obvious stuff, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that was a release that HMRC did through the business help and support emails that I would think a lot of members will subscribe to, that came out on the 9th of April. So its preparation is that for when you start to make the claim when the portal opens.
Yeah, and TC Jam, who put that up, had said his query is actually 0.5.
Right, the total amount being claimed for all employees.
And the total furlough period.
Right.
Now, the total furlough period only means the period for which you are claiming. So that's in 3-week tranches. It doesn't mean you think they're going to be off for 3 months. That's not what they're referring to. I think you might have just read more into that than they're trying to find. It's what is the period over which you're claiming. So I think that's That's good. Should we be, oh, wait a minute, somebody there. Should we be charging for the furlough claims, or should this be included in our payroll charge? It's just normal charging as far as I'm concerned. If you're doing the work, then you charge however. So if you're charging them X amount of pound a month, you could go back and say, I'm doing a bit more work, can I have a bit more? Or you put it through as your hourly charges per normal. And that's business. That's what you feel that you can do. But either you say you're doing more work, so therefore you want to be paid more, or you want to hang on to this good client and you do it for your existing fee. I mean, I'd be thankful you're getting a fee if it were me, but I'm a bit soft like that. So what would you do, Lucy? Are you stumping up your prices, or are you taking it on the chin?
Well, I've only got a couple of payrolls where they've got staff as opposed to just single director companies. They are charged by the hour, so it will just naturally come under that. I think there's an awful lot to be said for the goodwill that we are garnering at the moment. It will come back and help us in the future. So I would be very wary of racking up prices because there's an availability here. I think yes, there's extra work. You can charge a bit more for that if that's what your letter of engagement kind of allows you to do. But I think that value of goodwill will be more important than the cash in the bank.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the goodwill, the retention of your client long term has to be the major consideration. And yeah, you have to build that in there. Everybody is finding this difficult. You're there as the person that knows everything. And yeah, I think you have to take some stuff on the chin. If it's very, very difficult, very, very complicated, then you need to have a sit-down conversation. Whatever you do, don't make the mistake of sending in a big invoice at the end of the month with no explanation or no pre-warning. It's the one thing that clients hate, is getting an invoice that they didn't expect to come in. And it's one of we have very few complaints about our members, to be honest, very few from clients. But those that do come in tend to be, I wasn't expecting this big bill, and now and they start fighting against it. You need to talk. It's good to talk, as they said once on a time. But
Gary, on that aspect, I think it comes down to the old premises of know your client, isn't it? KYC.
Yeah.
Say. So you sort of tailor it to the client in question. Some of the clients will accept that you've done a lot more work and will expect to bill accordingly. Others, if it's tight, if cash is tight, and you know your client's business, then you can create the goodwill and say, as when we come through this, just remember what I did for you back in March and April.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, if your client, if your client is furloughing people, that means their business is stopping. So now is not the time to hit them with a big bill. The fact that you're going to get your normal amount from them, I regard that as a bonus, to be honest with you. And you can't kick them when they're down. You work with them, you work through this, and you bring them out at the other end happier and more resilient, able to continue. Bring people back to work, because you're going to have to do more work then, because there's going to be all sorts of weird, wonderful calculations on that one. But no, this is what we do. We're bookkeepers, and I think that's really a really, really important. Sorry, I'm reading another thing here while I'm talking. The 3 weeks furlough, is that regarding the 3 working weeks, as the employer works part-time 4 days per week and was furloughed from 9th of April? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days a week. I don't think it matters. It's not how many days they work, it's what they earn for that work. And you just, that's what they get for their week. The fact that they don't work on one of those days has got nothing to do with it. Am I right there, Steve, do you think?
I agree, yeah. I think if they were furloughed on the 9th, you do the calculation from the date they were furloughed to the end of the week, or if it is a complete working week, then you do the calculation based on an ordinary week. It doesn't matter if there's bank holidays in there or any other form of holidays, other than their contracted entitlement to holiday pay, of course. But yeah, I think you just do the calculation based on the hire of the same week last week or a normal working week.
And Kath has just sent in a note following the inquiry about VAT on imported goods. And she says she's received confirmation actually from an accountant she works with saying HMRC will accept requests to suspend payment of deferred imported VAT and customs duty. Goes back a little bit to what I said before. They've got an inbuilt, you must help out businesses. So there will be a certain amount of leeway offered on a lot of things, but don't expect it. I think you've got to prove that it isn't going to just give clients a bit more money so they can stick it in their pocket and go down or something or other. You've got to prove that it's a going concern, and that's very important. Funnily enough, our members in Australia, every quarter when they fill in what's called a BAS return, which is a business activity statement, they have to confirm that their client is a going concern. I can see that coming in before long here as well. Anyway, so there is a number here. We'll put this up on the hub, but duty deferment office. They've actually got an office for duty deferment. How about that? Which is 03000 594 243. But we will put this up 03000 594 243. And the COVID-19 help desk we put everywhere anyway, which is 0800 024 122. Thank you, Kath, for that anyway. This info has gone straight to employer if they're set up for news. Yeah, Faye just says, hi, this information has gone straight to the employer if they set up for news feeds. Yeah, I agree with that, Faye. The only thing is that most employers, although they get the information, it's, I think a negligible number actually read it and an even smaller number understand it. So again, the more that we can put it in our words, explain it to them, and then act on it on their behalf, the better it is for all of us. Right, you would like to ask a question, right? Right, I'm not sure about that one, Clara. So what is the furlough period if you are various furlough periods? I don't quite get that, Clara. You have to claim for individuals, add that all together and claim the total figure. So if some people are furloughed for 3 weeks, another for 4, it's just a normal bookkeeper calculation. As far as the members keep telling me, no two employees or employers are alike, so it should be easy to work it out. But anyway, I hope that. So let me have a look. Have we got any more on the, where are we? Philippa says here, payroll companies are charging more and quite a bit more. Yeah, I mean, the price of a mask, if you go to a pharmacist, is double what it was before this all happened. People will always try and make money out of this. But I think, you know, you're a bookkeeper, you're an individual, you're working with a team of clients. Your clients are very important to you. You're very important to them. And as we said before, it's your calculation at the end of the day. But, you know, I would hate to think that our members are fleecing their clients in times when they really don't want that to happen. So please just bear that in mind. Hi, this is from Facebook, from Angela McLeod. Hi there, loving the daily webinars. Oh, thank you very much, that's great. Our company was due to introduce salary exchange this month. Now will most of our staff on furlough there is talk, and now, sorry, I'll read it again. Now, I think that must be with most of our staff on furlough, there is talk of postponing the scheme for 3 months, as this is a lifestyle event which affects the employees. Does anyone else have knowledge of this? I don't, but I know the question has been asked before. Salary exchange, yeah. I have a feeling that you can furlough the exchange, if I can use that expression, and start again afterwards, can't you? Have you come across this, either of you?
Nope, sorry, no.
Right. I'll get something put up on the
event business, Garry. Is it a promotional events business? Is that what they're saying? That because their events aren't going to take place now, that they're carrying out the salary exchange? I don't know. I'm not.
No, I think this is salary exchange where you can do. if I think you can do it, excuse me, can't you do it for childminders and etc. All that sort of stuff? That's
salary sacrifice things.
So,
if it's a salary sacrifice.
Right, got you. Right, yeah. No. I mean,
sorry, Lucy, carry on.
No, I have very little to add. If it's salary sacrifice, then COVID-19 is a life event, they said. So yes, you could defer it, but I don't know. It's out of my remit, I'm afraid.
Right. Okay. So I will, Angela, we will get some information on that. We'll put it on the hub, or I will bring it up hopefully tomorrow. I'll pass that out to our various experts who are sitting out there. I haven't got anything coming in at the moment, but yeah, anybody coming out there, but that's great. Sylvia B says the employment allowance just runs from month 1. Even if you apply it later, they will backdate it and may give a refund to national insurers, national employers NI. At least that is what has happened to my clients in the past. So thank you for that, Sylvia. I can't comment on that, to be honest with you. Somebody else does all my stuff for me, but it sounds logical to me. Yeah. Benefits in kind salary sacrifice schemes. The reference salary should not include the cost of non-monetary benefits provided to employees, including taxable benefits in kind. Similarly, benefits provided through salary sacrifice schemes, including pension contributions that reduce an employee's taxable pay, should also not be included in the reference salary. In other words, if you're trying not to pay tax on big chunks of your salary, you've had the gain in the past, so you're not going to get it now. All the grant received to cover an employee's subsidised furlough pay must be paid to them in the form of money. No part of the grant should be netted off to pay for the provision of benefits or salary sacrifice scheme. And this is taken from Pauline Nichols, but taken direct from HMRC. Where the employer provides benefits to furloughed employees, including through a salary sacrifice scheme, these benefits should be in addition to the wages that must be paid under the terms of the job retention scheme. Normally, an employee cannot switch freely out of salary sacrifice scheme unless there is a life event. HMRC sees that COVID-19 counts as a life event that could warrant changes to salary sacrifice arrangements. It's a life event. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. But anyway, there we are. Right, folks. Well, it's coming up for 4:30. I think we've had a great meeting today. We've got several hundreds of you online. So thank you, all of those of you that have sent in some questions. Any more you send in now will still be kept, and we'll put them to our various experts, and we will carry those on the hub as soon as we can get those up there. Lucy and Steve, thank you very much for coming on. I mean, is there any, I'll ask Steve first this time because we did ladies first before. Is there any overriding piece of advice that you would throw out to members at this time?
Don't panic. Obviously, what we said earlier really is keep your clients in the loop, keep them informed, even if it's just a phone call to say that you have got, you know, their interests at heart, that you are looking into things. Don't let them think that you're neglecting them. The feedback that you'll get from doing that is worth something in the future. Going back to what we were saying about goodwill, if you keep your clients informed as matters progress, tell them, you know, what's going on, so that they don't feel that they're left hanging and not sure what they qualify for, or whether you're working, you know, not working to find out what they qualify for. That will come back in the long term, and you will be rewarded. So communication, it all comes down to keeping them abreast, as many as possible, of the circumstances that are specific to them. They will love you for it later. They will.
Okay, thank you for that. Lucy?
Obviously, everything that Steve said, yeah, keep calm. But I think to add to Steve, it's really to look after ourselves, to reach out to branches, to your fellow ICB members, and just don't do it all alone. And remember, we don't have all the answers. None of us do. Use your peers, use them as soundboards. get on the Facebook groups, your local branch chair, your local branch group, your WhatsApp groups, whatever you can do to actually keep yourself informed, keep yourself happy, and yeah, keep calm and keep going.
And we are a group, we are a community. I mean, we sometimes call ourselves a family, but I won't use that now because some of you are already getting fed up with your families being around you every time. And I said in my article that I wrote in the newsletter, you know, please remember everybody, a couple of weeks ago, you were all saying, God, I wish I spent more time with my family. You know, be careful what you wish for. Anyway, I'm not making light of that, obviously, but I think it's important that we all make sure also that we take time for ourselves. You know, whether if you're in a busy household, whether it's locked away in the toilet or you do go for that quick walk every day that you have, etc. There are a lot of people depending upon you at the moment, more so than normal, and you have to look after you. You've got to be ready to take what comes at you and be prepared and ready to come out of this. So don't wear yourself out. Make sure you sit down and just think about life and contemplate the world a little bit and just calmly work your way through. So, you know, that is important. You are very, very important. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I hope you'll be all able to join me again. We've got Float coming in tomorrow. Those of you who were at our seminar, our summit a couple of years back at the QE2 might remember the little blue ducks that they were giving away. Float is a company that specializes in payroll software. Sorry, what am I talking about? I'm reading other questions here, flicking past. In cash flow software, and they'll be talking about how to prepare proper cash flow budgeting moving forward. Very, very important at the moment that we are able to give our clients an idea of cash flow. Probably more difficult now than ever before. There's more guesswork than ever before, and you can't rely upon last year plus a couple of percentage points and move it through. It is going to be different. Float will be talking to us about this. Now, they're not going to come on and try and sell you Float from the first time they open their mouth to the end of this. This is all about the bigger picture, and then we're going to follow it up later with a normal webinar that you can link into when they talk about their product specifically. So this is very much to help you through these particular times and the increased demands put upon you by your clients. So be very careful out there, everybody. Be safe. Stay locked away for a bit longer. Hopefully this daily program gives you a bit of a break. Have a good day. I will see you hopefully all tomorrow. Thank you again, Lucy and Steve. And so everybody, goodbye for now.
Goodbye. Goodbye.